Hey, we're on already. Boy, thanks for the sour persimmons, like they say. Well, got a fun film for you tonight. I do have a fun film for you tonight, and gall darn it, we're gonna stick to it. Some people have been talking about, they like the dead end kids, the East Side kids, they like the Bowery Boys. Now, I gotta admit, when I was a kid, I grew up on the Bowery Boy movies. Now, the Bowery Boy movies are near the end of the monogram's use of these characters. They started out as being dead end kids out of Samuel Goldwyn's production of the Dead End. And then they sort of went on to become little tough guys. Then they went on to become East Side kids, and then the Bowery Boys. It's hard to keep track of what they are, but they're a bunch of hooligans, right? They're a bunch of punks. They're a bunch of roughneck kids from the city who are, sort of put into situations where they have to solve things. They become sort of little detectives and things like that. Part of their career was in the 40s when they were the East Side kids at Monogram. And they made these films with Bela Lugosi, with old Phil Rawson, and with William One Shot Bodine, or One Take Bodine. This film that we're watching tonight was shot in 1941, Spooks Run Wild. And it stars Bela Lugosi, and it also has Angelo Rizzuto in it as his little dwarf sidekick. I'm not going to go too far into the plot on this one here because there's a little bit of mystery in here. And I'll tell you, there's just a little bit of mystery in here, and if I give any of it away, it just destroys the whole movie, so I just can't do that. But here it has our boys. It's got our boys, Gimpy and, Scruno and all those guys, Muggs. And they are juvenile delinquents who are taken out into the country to go out and enjoy the countryside. They kind of go to a day camp. Now, they don't run into Jason or anything like that. And you kind of wish they would. They just get all wiped out. If we made a modern day version of the Bowery Boys, we'd put them out there at Crystal Lake and just get them all massacred. Well, that'd be pretty funny. Okay. But the whole thing here is they go out here and they stumble into the mysterious happenings at this old dark house where Bela Lugosi is housed. And he's suspected of being this foul killer. And the boys do their best to ham it up and to, try to deal with Spooks Run Wild. Now, it's kind of interesting. They made another film called Ghosts on the Loose, and I get the two films mixed up. It's got Bela Lugosi in it, too. It's made a couple years later, but when I talk about these two films, the names get kind of mixed up. This one's very different, though. And actually, this is the superior one. Now, you won't find me too often making those kind of judgment calls on this show. But this is the superior one, Spooks Run Wild, 1941. I'm not sure if it's because of old Phil Rawson working on it or whether it's because Carl Foreman wrote the screenplay for this. Carl Foreman, later blacklisted in the 50s, wrote High Noon, Bridge Over River Kwai. Wow! So when you think about it, think of Spooks Running Wild. They're doing the old... Wish I had my kazoo right now. I'd play that baby. Okay, so I think you're going to have a good time with this. Spooks Run Wild, 1941. Now remember, shoot me an email if you had the mind to. I'd be glad to hear from you. What do you think of the East Side Kids? What do you think of the Bowery Boys? What do you think of all those guys? Leo Gorcey. What do you think of Hunt's Hall? What do you think of Bobby Jordan? All the great boys together doing their best. Roll 'em, Smokey.